Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Moms. This is Dorothy Pilarski. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you signing on. And if you could, in the chat box, tell us where you're from, say hello to us, because it's always much more I guess fruitful for us when we know that there's actually someone there, because you're talking into a screen. So hi, Sarah. Sarah's our Mothers Group leader at Blessed Trinity. Thank you so much for joining us. We love seeing our Mothers Group leaders. Krystyna, one of our guests today, is our Mothers Group leader at two mothers groups, one in the morning, TOTS program, and not just tots, and then one in the evening. Tracy Manning is also one of our Mothers Group leaders in Leonardtown, Maryland. So big warm welcome to Tracy. Great to have you here. So anyway, today we're here to talk about how we might engage our kids in the Catholic faith in a creative way, and that's by taking them on a pilgrimage. But, oh, and I should also say hello to Father Martin. My goodness, I apologize to Father Martin. I'm going to introduce Father Martin a little bit more formally in just a few minutes, but I do want to share our ministry video in case any of you might feel motivated to start a Catholic moms group. We're faith partners with the Archdiocese of Toronto on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. So we're going to share our ministry video. And if the Holy Spirit speaks to you, it says, start a mother's group, start a mother's group. Don't ignore the Holy Spirit. So we can help you start a mother's group only. So with just moms in it, usually an evening group, a mothers and tots group, or virtual groups. And here's just a very short video about our ministry.
Mothers, by our very nature, we are nurturing, loving caregivers. We are social beings, made for friendship and community. We are also spiritual by nature, made by a loving God to know Him and love Him, and to pass this love of our Catholic faith on to our children. But right now, many mothers feel overextended, distracted, and exhausted. Though as Catholics, we have the community of our church, many mothers attending Mass could not name the moms sitting next to them in the pew they share. Community and support among Catholic mothers is desperately needed in this hectic and chaotic culture. Your parish needs you to bring these moms together.
Hi, my name is Dorothy Pilarski. I'm the founder of Catholic Moms Group. We at Catholic Moms Group are on a mission to revive the vocation of motherhood. We exist to bring together like-minded, faith-filled mothers who crave community and are focused on spiritual growth, Catholic teaching, and fellowship. Can you imagine a thriving, engaged mothers group at your parish? A group of moms in love with their Catholic faith, ready to serve other mothers no matter what stage of motherhood they're at. Can you imagine what a difference that would make at your parish? Starting a mothers group, it's not rocket science, but working with a team who's done it before and who's done it dozens and dozens of times sure does help. The Catholic Moms Group membership site is an online community that offers training, resources, and dozens of tools for parishes to help them start a mothers group quickly and efficiently. We're here to provide you with a clear path to launching a Catholic Moms Group at your parish. All of our materials are 100% Catholic. We have clearly laid out meetup plans for both moms groups and toddler groups. We are obedient to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. We have created dozens of tools that are going to save you time and energy. And besides that, we love our Blessed Mother. We constantly turn to her for her intercession. You can make a huge impact in your parish, so join us. We are revolutionizing the way parishes start mothers groups by providing parishes with a Catholic mothers group starter kit, and by nourishing and training a community of Catholic mothers group leaders across the world. It's time to start a mothers group at your parish. Join us today.
So, on the behalf of Catholic Moms Group, we'd like to welcome each and every one of you and thank you for joining us for today's a walking pilgrimage episode. I'd like to formally introduce Father Hilbert. He is a priest of the Oratory of St. Philip Neri. He's taken youth to Martyrs Shrine annually since 2007. He has canoed probably every channel on the French River. He's also taken youth to Santiago de Compostela and also led pilgrimages to World Youth Day. And so we're thrilled to have Father Martin here with us. We're also very happy to have a mother and daughter team, Krystyna Zasowski. She has 8 kids and she's been married 39 years. She has 9 grandchildren. Plus she's a mothers group leader of 2 mothers groups, and she's a medical office manager. So I go like, whoa, remarkable. Bernadette is her daughter. Bernadette, you're gonna have to remind me again. How old are you, Bernadette?
No worries. I am 17 years old.
You're 17 and you're just finishing up grade 12, is that right? And you got accepted to all the 3 universities that you applied for. Yeah. So everyone is super happy. And you're involved, you mentioned, in how many youth groups? I thought that was like super cool.
I'm involved in 3 youth groups.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what youth groups are you involved in? You're involved with
Our home parish, which is All Saints. I help
Right.
out with the younger kids there. I'm also involved at the Parish Nativity of Our Lord. It's close to my school. It's technically my school's parish. And then lastly, I go to the, I guess, young adults youth group at St. Casimir's youth group.
Yes.
Parish.
Yeah, the St. Casimir's youth group has a very special place in my heart because my daughter met her now husband there. So that's fantastic. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to just fire off my first question to Father Martin, if I could. I shouldn't be saying Father Martin. Should I be saying Father Martin?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm sometimes too casual, so forgive me. So what exactly is a pilgrimage for people that have maybe never been on a pilgrimage, and how is it different than a holiday, and all those kind of just basic questions?
Right. Well, I think a pilgrimage is a journey to some sacred destination, and one can think of our whole life as being a pilgrimage to heaven. We don't have a permanent homeland here, as the scriptures tell us, but our homeland is in heaven. And the word pilgrimage comes from the Latin peregrinatio, which apparently can mean all different kinds of things like foreigner, stranger, exile, migrant, and finally, usually pilgrim. And so pilgrims are on a journey to a sacred destination. And I think that gives a focus to the journey as distinct from a holiday when you're just sort of going on a bus or on a boat or wherever and just saying, oh, that's sort of neat over there. Obviously, there's going to be some aspects of that on a pilgrimage, but the pilgrimage keeps you focused. We're on our way to Santiago de Compostela. We're on our way to Martyrs Shrine. And the prayers that you say, the thoughts that go through your head, are focused, I think, much more so than on just a holiday when you're just trying to relax and be amused.
Now, is it common to have an intention for a pilgrimage, or?
I think that some people do, that some people say that they're here to pray for a sick friend of theirs, or that they go on a pilgrimage. Perhaps young people go on a pilgrimage often when they're trying to decide what it is that God is calling them to do, working out their vocation. So that they're praying with that. Does God want me to be a priest or a brother, or in the case of women, a nun? Does he want me to get married? What is it that God wants of me? And I think that's often something that people will go on a pilgrimage to discover.
Oh, I didn't know that. So that's thank you for that. Thank you for that. And so maybe sending our kids on a pilgrimage, and it's always good, I guess, as Catholic moms, to remember that we should be creating those three options in the minds of our children. Like, do you want to be a religious? Do you want to pursue the vocation of marriage, or the state of being single? So because I know that in the Polish culture, very much, get married. That was, and so just talking about the three different states of life as a Catholic mom would be able. Yeah. Now, Krystyna, can you tell me just a little bit about your relationship with the Martyrs Shrine, or how you started going there, or just because I was so inspired the year that you told me that you had been there a number of times, and I was like, wow, yeah. So tell me a little bit about your time at the shrine.
Well, from my earliest memories being a child, my parents used to go, their wedding anniversary was on the Feast of the Assumption, August 15th, and the Polish pilgrimage to Martyrs Shrine was always close to that date. So we used to go every year from my earliest memory. My dad would drive. I never thought of it as a pilgrimage because we just got in the car and we drove there. So you don't think of that as a pilgrimage if you drive there. But my mom, in her youth, used to do walking pilgrimages. And in 1983, a walking pilgrimage started to Martyrs Shrine in the Polish community, and my mom went on it. And I was in my late teens then, and I thought, this is kind of cool. She's kind of old. Why would she do this? But it was it was just from her own experience and her longing for that, because she'd known walking pilgrimages from when she was a child. And so I grew up watching my mom do walking pilgrimages to Martyrs Shrine. And I thought, wow, okay. And she always said that she was praying for her children and her grandchildren, future grandchildren. And so, yeah, I've really felt that there was a connection to her passing on, even though I didn't go. My sister went with her once when she was a teenager. But there was a lot of, she would say that she felt revitalized for the whole year, and it was close to her wedding anniversary. So it was, strengthening her marriage. And she just felt that the graces from a pilgrimage were so necessary as a woman.
Beautiful, because I guess what our children observe us doing, whether or not they're joining us at the time, does get etched into their kind of hearts, minds, and souls. And Bernadette, I'll get to you in just 1 minute, but I just want to pop back to Father Martin. Can you tell us a little bit about Martyrs Shrine? Because, like, for example, Tracy is here from Leonardtown, Maryland, and she might not, like, what is this Martyrs Shrine? Can you give us a little bit of a background on Martyrs Shrine?
Sure, be pleased to do that. So Martyrs Shrine was built just at the time of the beatification of what some people call the Canadian Martyrs, some people call the North American Martyrs, some people call the Jesuit Martyrs of North America. They're beatified in the 1920s and canonized, I think, in 1929, 1930. And when this canonization was being planned, they decided, well, we got to come up with a church quick. And so they built a church, which is now called Martyrs Shrine, very close to the village of Sainte Marie, which was something that the Jesuit missionaries built and then subsequently burnt because they didn't want the enemy Iroquois tribe to have a stronghold in the land that they were evangelizing. So all of these men that were the martyrs were members of the Jesuit order who were given the task of evangelizing the indigenous people of now Ontario. Yes, most of them died in this region as martyrs. They came in the 1630s, most of them, and they abandoned the Midland, Ontario area in the spring of 1650, when it became clear that the Iroquois won this war, and the few converts that they had decided to go back to Quebec City with them. And so the shrine was built to be a center of devotion to these martyrs. And for those of you in the United States, you might be more familiar with a shrine also to these very same men in Orriesville, New York. And that was the location where, or near the location where three of them were killed: Saint Isaac Jogues, Saint René Goupil, and Saint Jean de Lalande. And so we have these two major shrines, one in Canada, the Martyrs Shrine in Midland, and one in upstate New York in Orriesville.
And how long is the walking pilgrimage from Toronto to?
So the way that I've structured it, if from here, if I get into my car and I look at the odometer or go to Google Maps, it's about 150 kilometers. But I try not to use up a Sunday because priests are necessary here on Sundays. So I start on a Monday, and I get there now on Thursday, and it's 100 kilometers. We start in Colgan, Ontario, which is just north of Bolton. And the reason I've chosen that is because when I started these pilgrimages, a whole bunch of young kids asked me, "Father, are you ever going to take us to Spain, to Santiago de Compostela?" And so I told them that they had to prove to me that they can walk, and the way they're going to do it is to go to Martyrs Shrine. And so I thought, hey, Santiago is St. James, so why not start in St. James Church in Colgan? And so we walk 100 kilometers starting there, and we go to St. Paul's in Alliston, and then to a evangelical church, a Protestant church called Pinewoods Chapel in Angus. And then we get to Phelpston, and then our long day is 34 kilometers.
So that required a little bit of research, thought, and structuring. So that's a very, very good thing. Now I'm going to just pop now over to Bernadette. So Bernadette, just so everyone knows, Bernadette is Krystyna's daughter. So can you tell us, how many times have you been on a pilgrimage, or tell us a little bit about your pilgrimage experience?
So I was doing the math. I think I've been to around 10 pilgrimages, or like I've completed 10.
You completed 10 pilgrimages? Oh, wow. And would all of those pilgrimages have been to Martyrs Shrine, or is that a different pilgrimages? Can you tell me a little bit about?
So I'd say all of them except for one were to the Martyrs Shrine. I went just this summer to World Youth Day, so consider that also another pilgrimage. We stopped when we were there to the shrine. Is it the shrine of Fatima? That would be considered that. Yes, we stopped there, or stopped there. We went there. So yeah.
So I'm very edified and suddenly feeling like a failure because I never took my kids on a walking pilgrimage. That's amazing. And how old would you have been, Bernadette, when you went on these different pilgrimages?
So I think the first time I went when I was first 6 months.
No, she was 6 weeks old when
Oh.
we drove her to Midland. We drove her to Martyrs Shrine when she was 6 weeks old.
There you go. So that was
That's
for
her
my
first-
parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
There, I did it.
But the first one that you can remember.
Was probably when I was around 10 in grade 5, 4.
That really made an impact on you, that you
Now,
were.
did you walk that pilgrimage or did you
Yeah.
did, you walked?
Yes, I walked the whole thing. Well, technically, it was with the kids, so I would usually get in the car every once in a while because I was like,
So you said your mom mentioned that it was a powerful experience for you. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, the first few times I did it, I always wanted to walk it. I tried to get people in our family to come together and be like, let's do the pilgrimage together. And so at first I think I just saw it as like a fun thing to do with everyone. And then you can like get together and it's like you had to go to mass occasionally, which was like, but then I really think I've grown to appreciate it. And so the next few times I went, I would slowly understand the importance of it and how it really is like a journey and how you can use that in a way to bring you closer to God. And so I think it was more gradual, but I have kind of, as I said before, like started to understand how important that is.
So did your mom have to, and I don't know if I should be asking this in public, but you could always say no comment. But did your mom have to kind of like force you to go on these pilgrimages, or did you go wholeheartedly, or?
I don't really remember. Do you ever remember having to drag me? I don't really remember that either.
Yeah, no, she was quite enthusiastic.
Very enthusiastic.
Always the prospect. Well, because the walking pilgrimage involves camping.
Okay.
Yeah. There's prayer during the day, catechesis. So there's things happening. You walk through beautiful trails. There's things to see. It's not like you're just walking on a sidewalk in downtown Toronto. And there's singing and praying, so your time is filled. So I think that, and for a young person, I don't think it's physically strenuous. No.
And I'm showing my own flaws here, which I have many of them. But I just wonder too if some of the moms that are listening, whether you might say to yourself, oh, my son, he's 10 years old, there's no way he could go on a pilgrimage, he's like much too young. And I think sometimes mothers themselves impose limits on their children, and mothers themselves sometimes are the problem, right? Because they're not encouraging this kind of adventurous, some moms are very holy like yourself, and you're taking them, and which is good. And that's part of the reason we're having, this interview, is to open the minds of, the listeners that so you were 10 years old and you enjoyed it and you had fun, and that's fantastic. Father, what's your experience been like what have been some of the ages of the youth that you've taken on pilgrimage? How do they come to go on a pilgrimage? Is it something that they seek out, or?
Well, it's usually something that their parents decide is good for them. And I had a lot of interest, usually from homeschooling families. I'm really trying to get people from the local neighborhood, from the parish to go, and some of them do, but from the school next door, it's really, really difficult. They say, no, I think walking to the bus stop is as far as I'd like to go. And too many of their parents, unfortunately, they ask them, would you like to go? No, Mom, I like air conditioning. This is going to be too hot. Okay, my son doesn't want to go. Whereas my sister, on the other hand, at one point sent two of her sons, I think that they were about 13, 14 at the time, or 12, 13, I don't forget exactly. And they said, Mom, we don't want to go with Uncle Martin. And she said, you're going, get in the car. And within about half an hour of the journey, they made new friends. They loved it.
Yeah.
But it's really, so I've had limited success with the kids, local kids. But this year I'm very hopeful because one of the teachers at the school next door wants to go. And so I said, that's great. And so I hope that she can maybe keep on reminding them. And I think she's a very personable soul, so she might have more luck than I did.
Yeah, and and sometimes, and I don't know whether it's possible or not, but sometimes having whether it's a short video or reels or something that gives testimonials from fellow youth about it, then because maybe people imagine it to be one way and yet it's another way, and they don't
Right.
they're not being exposed to the kind of the fun aspects of it. And so what do you do on a pilgrimage? Okay, you walk, but you're walking for 4 or 5 days. What else do you do, Father, on a pilgrimage?
Well, I wake the kids up with my trumpet at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that works because that's loud.
With your trumpet. Wow.
Yes. I carry a trumpet just for that reason. And so most days or actually I shouldn't say most days, but we have mass every day. So sometimes we have mass first thing in the morning and a simple breakfast. Breakfast is usually just orange juice, coffee and tea, and sometimes just hard-boiled eggs from the night before, or muffins, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then we get together to say a good portion of the breviary. So we say the morning prayer together, and then vespers together, evening prayer, and then compline. And everybody has to go to bed and be quiet after compline's finished. And at some point during the day, we say the rosary. Now, of course, I have to find some time to say the other offices that I don't impose on everybody else, but nobody seems to resent saying the breviary together. So that's a good thing. And then during Mass, I usually will focus the homily. I mean, I'll use the readings of the day, but I'll try to shed some light on the martyrs that we're going to be seeing, focusing on their ordeals, trying to put the various blisters and aches and pains that the kids have in context, and then just talk to people as you walk along. And that, I think, is a real advantage to walking, because everybody more or less can do it at the same rate. Some people are saying, why don't I do a bicycling pilgrimage? But I say, well, because you're going to have some superstar bicyclists who'll get there in 2 hours, and you're going to have somebody that's going to take 8 hours, and I'm going to have to fix his flat 3 times. So, but walking, everybody goes more or less the same speed. Yes, there are differences, but people can talk, and it gives me a chance to talk to them about the questions that they might have about God and their life, and or just about what kind of birds there are in the field and that kind of stuff. So.
Okay, so a real opportunity for real life connection with people, opposed to connecting with people on the iPhone all the time. Now, Krystyna, Bernadette, when you went, did you go on the pilgrimage with the Polish church, or did you go with Holy Family? I'm just kind of curious. When you went on a walking pilgrimage, did you go with, what church did you go with?
Yes, always with the Polish walking pilgrimage. Yeah.
John Surakowski?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
okay.
John de Brebeuf. Yeah, he's still doing it. He was started the first, did the first one, and then he's still doing it 42 years later.
I got a lot of tips from John, so I'm very grateful to him.
Yes, yeah, because there are a lot of logistics involved, for keeping track of people. And usually in the Polish walking pilgrimage, it has to be divided into a couple of groups, maybe more groups, depending on the number of people, because you can't have this big, long chain of people walking. I think they try and keep it into groups of under 100. So they divide up the groups, and one group walks behind, one starts off earlier. But the same experience that I would say that Father Martin has described of, being woken in the morning. Actually, nobody has a problem going to sleep at night or keeping quiet because they're tired, physically tired. But that in itself is very good to experience physical tiredness.
Why is that good to experience, Krystyna? Why is it good to experience physical tiredness?
Because you can offer it up. You can offer it up. It's for a greater cause, a greater good.
Now, Bernadette, can you tell us a little bit, what sort of strikes you in the Polish pilgrimages when you've gone on them? Like what do you enjoy about it? Do you enjoy the singing, the walking, the camping? Like what kind of touches you, or what keeps you going,
Honestly, I like almost every part of it. I really love the singing. Like when we come back, we're always singing the songs together in the car. We have a CD with all the Polish pielgrzymka songs, which is great. I always found it kind of hard to like communicate with certain people because there are a lot of like older grandmas who do it, and their primary language is Polish, and so it's understood that everyone there can like very well, or like at least like fluently communicate in Polish. And my Polish, like speaking wise, is not very good. And so I always found that a little hard, and it was a little bit of a barrier to talking with people. But as like the week progressed, it usually got like easier, and people became more, I don't know, like open to speaking with you, even if like you had a little bit of a barrier, like languages. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's edifying to hear that older people go on pilgrimages as well. So are you saying that like I always thought pilgrimages are primarily for the youth, the fit, and the Olympians of our time. And I'm kind of like, well, I'm, overweight. I'm not that fit. And I mean, I am getting old. And so I always just didn't think I would have the physical stamina. So you're saying that don't tell me that older overweight ladies go, because then I'm really on the hook.
All kinds of people go. All kinds of people go. I mean, and there also people do want to know this. I mean, if something happens to you, like you hurt your ankle or all kinds of things happen, there's always a backup of a vehicle who picks up people who cannot complete it, or children who are, too tired, because there are obvious physical limitations, but that should never be a reason not to go.
Okay, so Father Martin, have you found that there's a lot of injury on these? Because I kind of think, okay, well, why are people going? Well, they're afraid they can't get the time off work. They're afraid of injury. Are there a lot of injuries? Or
not a lot of injuries, but we have had people that needed to go home. There was one adult, I'm very fond of him, and he really wanted to finish, but so I stayed behind with him, and he was a young man, and he was really limping along, and finally he just said, I cannot take another step. Well, it turns out that he had his Achilles tendon torn, and so we had to take him to the hospital, and that was it for him. And we sometimes have people with a stomach flu that need to be picked up by their parents, but it's not so far. Only most of the years that I've done it, I don't have a vehicle that follows us around. We had that luxury the first 2 years, and I'm very grateful to the people that helped us with that. But in subsequent years, the adults among us with cars would do car hopping in the first thing in the morning and last thing at night, where you drive up to the next destination in 2 cars, leave one there, come back with this other one, and then pile it full of all the junk that you don't need to carry. And then when you get to this, your destination, you go back, pick up the car. So it's a little bit more work, but it's really enough, I think, for emergency purposes. And if somebody really does need to be picked up, you can still phone and say, look, your son has the stomach flu and can you come and pick him up? And usually we can arrange for that.
Well, I guess it's good too that it's, close to Toronto, so it's not as if, you're in Spain or something.
Right.
It would be a little bit harder. So someone here in the chat box if anyone has any questions, please just list them in the chat. But someone's saying here, wow, 100 people, I never imagined group that large go. Where can we find out about going on a pilgrimage? So if someone wanted to explore more information about going on the pilgrimage with you, Father Martin, where would they go to find out more?
Well, that's a good question. They can go to the Oratory website. That's oratory-toronto.org, and just get in contact with Holy Family and send me an email. I will give you the brochure for the pilgrimage. But what I want to emphasize is the pilgrimage I'm doing is meant primarily for youth. And I do have a certain number of adults, but I want to know these adults ahead of time. I don't want any surprises.
Okay.
And so they have to be screened with volunteers. It's not, so I hope I'm not sounding unfriendly, but because I have the responsibility of all the children, I can't just have an adult show up on Monday morning and saying, so here I am.
Yes.
Because I have to go through, So, but yes, an email to me, to Holy Family Church, which I read, and I can help you with that. Get you connected. And
I'm glad that you clarified that, so that the pilgrimage that you lead is specifically for youth. Okay,
that's correct. Yeah.
Krystyna and Bernadette, I guess the Polish community, all ages, all sizes, all whatever are welcome. And if somebody is interested in going on that pilgrimage, who would they get in contact with?
Well, they have a website. Unfortunately, it's Polish. Yes, I'm going to just put it in. Sorry, I'll just type it into the chat box. There's information on there. There's an English. It translates into English.
It's not strictly Polish anymore, though.
No. Yes. Yeah. So one of the things that they've found is that a lot of the young people who come on the Polish pilgrimage now, their first language isn't Polish, and they don't have any Polish. So now they've started to have catechesis in English.
Okay, so you don't have to be. I was going to say you don't have to be Polish in order to go on the Polish pilgrim. Is that correct?
That's right. But I also know that Martyrs Shrine has a pilgrimage from Guelph, Ontario, that's run by the Jesuits. And I don't know any information about that, but they also do a pilgrimage from Guelph to Martyrs Shrine.
Okay. Now, Father, if a youth is interested in going on a pilgrimage, is there any kind of preparation that needs to be done, or?
Not much. I mean, I provide a list of things that they need, but I usually say if you don't have them, because many kids, I've noticed I love camping, and I've always camped, and my parents always had sleeping bags and things like that. But a lot of kids just don't do it. It's, I still go and do backwoods canoeing, and I'm finding the country just about abandoned. I used to have to fight for campsites, and early on in the day it was always a race. Everybody on the river was a potential competitor for your campsite. Now take your pick. So if there are kids that say they want to go but they don't have a sleeping bag, I can usually provide one, and then they just have to bring a change of clothes, and that's about it. I tell them don't bother with utensils and things because I usually have ones that stack together, so that's easier to carry. And for lunch, it's sandwiches that we make, so we don't need utensils. So it's all very, very simple. The one thing that's very Spartan is we sleep usually on the floor in parish halls or in a tent, and parish halls don't have showers. So I tell kids to bring a bathing suit, and we get the cold water hose for the gardening, for the lawn, and that's your shower. Girls first and then guys afterwards in bathing suits. But that's all that they need to carry.
Okay,
And
so
usually,
there is, so we're not staying at the Sheridan here, like we're.
no, we are not.
So they're sleeping on the floor. Okay, so that's something too that you have to be prepared for, is the.
Yes, and with bats sometimes.
With bats. Okay. Okay.
I tell the yes, and I say, don't worry, kids, there are bats in here, but don't worry.
No, and so you're having to develop the virtue of courage, right?
That's right.
And the virtue of fortitude. Bernadette, what would you say are some of the benefits of going on a pilgrimage? Like if you were talking to one of your friends and you were trying to convince him or her to go, what would you say to them? Like, how would you pitch it? What would you say? Oh, come, because what?
I'd say it's extremely unique. There's like Father Martin was saying, there's a certain aspect of it which is really just back to the basics. And I find you can find that next to nowhere nowadays. Like as soon as you want to do something, you gotta get like 1,500 things together. You need to get like your 20 apps on your phone that'll like track you and like tell you your steps and all of this. But like honestly, all you could bring is like a backpack with a sleeping bag, a tent, some clothes, like a bar of soap, and like, some food, and you are good to go. And you have like that, I don't know, just like time to yourself in a sense that you can really focus on what you want to focus on and focus on what's important.
Definitely, I would, agree that Bernadette has had the feeling of that simplicity, which you don't get. You don't have opportunity for that very often in today's world. There's always, rush, or get more. On a walking pilgrimage, you gotta get less.
Yeah, well, I guess, there something that seems to be extremely popular right now is minimalism. And so this would be a way of embracing minimalism for 4 or 5 days and really living it rather than just sort of, yapping the words of minimalism, but not living, minimalistically. Now, Krystyna, have all of your kids gone on a pilgrimage? Like,
all of them have been on pilgrimage. Yeah. All of them have walked to Martyrs Shrine.
all 8 of your children have
Yes,
walked.
not necessarily because I have asked them. My mom was the one who got most of them to go.
Who?
My mother.
Your mother's the one that got them to go.
Yeah, because she said, "Oh, well, if I'm going, I think you could probably go too."
That is,
So she kind of shamed them into it, but I think every single one of them would say that it was worthwhile. Some of them have only gone once. Others have gone a few times. So
well, I guess again, my hat's off to you, and my hat's off to your mother for carrying the torch and encouraging other people to carry the torch. Now, Father Martin, did you grow up in a family that was going on pilgrimages, or is this something that you just kind of?
No, we went on camping trips, and it was I still, as I say, I love doing that, and it was actually in the context of trying to bring kids into into nature. It was on a March break trip. We went to Long Point in Lake Erie, and there was a wonderful opportunity to see the tundra swan migration. There were about 6,000 tundra swans. I took kids there and they really liked it. It was during their March break. And then they said, Father, can you bring us to Santiago de Compostela? That's when I said, you first have to prove how to walk. But so no, the short answer is no, I didn't do this as a child.
You didn't do it as a child. Now, can you
No.
tell me, Father, just a little bit, because we are running out of time and I really do appreciate your time. Can you tell us a little bit about the other pilgrimages that you've been on besides the Martyrs Shrine one?
Well, after making the kids 2 years, 2007 and 2008, walk to Martyrs Shrine to prove that they can walk, they said, okay, now it's time to take us to Santiago de Compostela. So I did, and that was a very good. We had 24 people there, 15 of whom were youth, and we walked the last 170 or so kilometers. And then I did the same thing again in 2018, and there I had, I think, 30 people, about 20 of whom were youth and other adults. And then I've taken people along with one of my confreres, Father Michael, to various World Youth Days where there was some walking. So we went to Madrid together, Rio de Janeiro, and then Krakow, or Krakow, as Krystyna would say.
Yes. And so, Father, what would you say are some of the benefits of taking this kind of any kind of pilgrimage? What are some of the benefits when you're pitching it? How do you pitch it?
How do I pitch it? Well, I think that it's something different. It allows you to experience, I think, reality. I'm really trying to get people and kids especially away from these wretched virtual devices. I really enjoy watching kids encounter things that I've encountered like as a 7-year-old and was excited, like a toad, for example. But now you have like a 25-year-old man, this is his first time he's seen a toad. And he goes, oh, wow, look at this. And a lot of teenagers have also just never seen this. They live in a concrete jungle. And so I think that's seeing the world as God created it is very helpful eventually to embracing faith in God, rather than having it mediated through a virtual reality. And so that's an important aspect of it. And of course, slowing things down and forcing people to pray on occasion, I think is all very healthy, both at the human level and at the Christian level.
And have you experienced, any of you, any sort of kind of small miracles, large miracles, any kind of spiritual developments as a result of going on a pilgrimage? Or can one expect some spiritual elation, or just, I don't know where that question came from. It wasn't planned. It kind of just popped into my mind. I apologize.
Well, when you're approaching Martyrs Shrine on the last day, when you're walking up like the steps into the shrine church, it is very emotional. You're physically exhausted. And when you get there, like, wow, this is just, first of all, it's a beautiful church up on a high hill. The scenery there is just stunning, but you're like, almost crawling up the steps the last day because you are really tired. And you have met people who have, shared things with you. Because there is a lot of time to be talking to people, the evenings, when you're setting up your tent, you're either helping somebody helps you, you make a lot of connections with people. And I think that in itself is a miracle for a lot of people, not only the young people.
Yeah, and I guess I have just a faint memory once of being on a tour bus. And seeing in Poland, I was on the tour bus and seeing like the droves and droves and droves of people walking the pilgrimage to the Black Madonna Our Lady of Częstochowa, right? And there are people playing the accordion and people playing the band, and there was all this joy and these droves of people. Do you think, Krystyna, that that the Polish people have kind of jumped on the idea of going to Midland because of this tradition in Poland? Because I know that almost every Polish person has walked that pilgrimage to Our Lady of Częstochowa. Do you think that's why, or?
Well, I'm sure that that's how it originally, yeah, that's how it started. I was speaking to John Jurakowski. He was the original organizer, and he said, yeah, well, now when we think about it, he said, like 42 years ago, we started the walking pilgrimage, one, to make the new immigrants, the Polish immigrants, feel a little bit of, you know, that thing that they miss, walking pilgrimage. But he said we were marching to end communism, to end abortion, and the last thing, oh, I wrote it down. I mean, I just check it in my notes because he told me, and I said, wow. Oh, for vocations, yeah. He said we were walking for vocations to end communism and end abortion. So, well, I don't know. Let's keep walking.
Let's keep walking, exactly.
We've got a few things to add. Now we've got to add, you know, medically assisted dying and the confusion that people have in terms of gender ideology. So we have more intentions to walk for. Okay, so there's a special event coming up at the Martyrs Shrine. And that's kind of what kind of triggered this interview. So who knows about this special event, and who can tell me about it? I think, Krystyna, you know a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's on June 12th. It's a gala because Martyrs Shrine is looking forward to the 400th anniversary of the Jesuits arriving in Canada. And they're doing some fundraising just to keep up the grounds at Martyrs Shrine. It's, you know, a lot of acres. I don't even know how many acres it is. And they have to do some fundraising. So this year they're doing a spring gala. They do one in the fall as well, up in the Midland area. But it's at the Bellevue Manor on June 12th. And if you go to martyrs-shrine.org, there's information there about that. The gala, you can get the tickets. Martyrs.
Now you're celebrating a special anniversary, Krystyna, aren't you? What anniversary are you celebrating?
My anniversary?
Yes.
On June 14th, our wedding anniversary.
Our wedding anniversary, and so it's a good excuse to go to a gala, right?
That's right.
So if you have a birthday coming up or an anniversary or something, it might be a good way to celebrate the anniversary by going to the gala. So you've been married how long, Krystyna?
38 years.
38 years. So Krystyna's been married 38 years. And I was asking Father Martin how long he was a priest. And he said that he's now in his 33rd year. Is that right?
Well, 34th. I have been a priest for just over 33.
Over
33 and a half.
But in your 34th year. And so thank you for your witness and thank you for sharing. Are there any other things that you'd like to share about the pilgrimage before we sign off? Bernadette, is there anything that's burning? No, nothing. Okay, good. Father, anything you'd like to share?
Going this year.
What's that? Sorry?
She's going this year.
Oh, good.
Yeah, when is it this year?
It's usually what, second week of August?
So the Polish pilgrimage, Father Martin will give the details of his, but the Polish pilgrimage is leaving on the it's to arrive at Martyrs Shrine on the 10th and 11th weekend. So they arrive on Saturday. Saturday's the 10th. So I think it's the 5th. Monday is the 5th. Yeah. Monday's the 5th of August.
Okay. That's the same week we're doing it.
All right, there you go. We'll see you on the trail. We'll see you
August 5th to August the 10th. 10th is the Saturday. And we usually end up, though, we end up at the shrine on Thursday night. And then Friday, we go to Sainte Marie among the Hurons, and also to go swimming on one of the tiny beaches.
Beautiful. And
then on Saturday, we walk the 12 kilometers from the shrine to Saint Ignace. That's the actual place of martyrdom of Brebeuf and Lalemant. And That's where I have one of the pilgrims read from the Jesuit Relations, the actual account of the martyrdom. And then I start Mass, and that's the end of the pilgrimage. And I think it's a powerful way to end.
Oh, and I just wanted to comment here. One of our other Mothers Group leaders who signed on, Susan Taras, she's actually Krystyna's sister-in-law, right? So it's all beautiful in the family. So Suzanne says it's a fantastic experience for 5 of our children to connect with their dad and the Polish way of celebrating Catholicism. It's a great faith and family building experience. So I have one last question, and I'm glad that the Holy Spirit reminded me to ask any of you, because like I know that the quote unquote Canadian way of parenting is, asking the child permission and asking them what they think and would they like to do it. And I'm like, that's not the way I was raised, right? Like my mother, like, and if I didn't behave in church, she wasn't afraid to give me a good pinch, and she didn't really care if it hurt or it didn't hurt. But there seems to be this style of parenting or mothering that is like just so accommodating, and to me, almost to the point of a fault, to our children's needs and so on and so forth. And I married a Canadian, and he's definitely more collaborative, and I'm Polish and born in Poland, and I'm like, you just tell them, okay? So what are your thoughts? Because I just, I've had a priest actually send 2 or 3 ladies from his parish. He says, you have to go to this How to Start a Catholic Moms Group workshop. You have to go to it. You have to go. And that's like one of our best mothers groups. And these 3 women didn't know one another. They got to know one another because of this priest. He's Polish too. He must have had a Polish mother. So what are your thoughts on telling your youth, well, you're going? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's good or bad, or in my old style, Bernadette, just anyone, any thoughts?
Yeah, Bernie, do I give you choices on things?
I mean, you do.
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, like you strongly encourage.
Yeah,
And
incessantly.
yeah, exactly. But honestly, I'm happy you do that, because I probably never would have
Gone out of your comfort
yeah,
zone.
no, for sure. And I have friends who I tell about these pilgrimages I've been on, and they're like, oh, whoa, that's so cool. Like, I would never go on something like that. And I'm like, well, guess you just wish you had a mom like mine.
Yeah, and Father, what are your thoughts on it?
I absolutely agree. I mean, parents, if your kid has a toothache, or even if he doesn't have a toothache, you take him to the dentist, and you don't ask, would you like to go to the dentist? Just go to the dentist because it's good for him.
Yes. Yes.
Because you have the wisdom to know that this is something good, and so you send him on a pilgrimage. It opens up horizons. He makes new friends. As I said, my sister did that with 2 of her children. And at first, I don't want to go, Mom. Well, they didn't have a choice, and then they loved it. So they would have been missing out if Helen didn't send them. So I'm all for that. And it was funny. I had each year I have some special child who needs special attention because of various problems, usually behavioral problems. And I told his parents about the things that he was doing and how I handled him, and they said, great, I'm going to send him back every year. So, because the kid came back and he wasn't whining anymore. So.
Yeah, I know that, this wasn't a pilgrimage, but there was a year I was trying to encourage the moms in my own mother's group to send their kids on a retreat, and it was going to be culminating in consecration to our Blessed Mother. Oh, my son can't go because he has to work. Oh, he's going to lose 2 shifts. I always say to my kids, okay, you know, you're gonna lose $50 not working at Metro as a cashier. Here's your $50. I'll give you $50, you're going, right? And oh, can't go because I work at Sport Check. And I'm like, I'm there when the shift is over, picking you up, and we're going to the retreat, right? I find personally that there's been a loss of the kind of the matriarch in a way that's really quite damaging. And I think sometimes because moms are so exhausted and, you know, they're pulled in 110 different directions, and you know, maybe they are reading too many magazines, but don't be afraid to be a little old style, you know, and say, yeah, I said to my kids too, as long as you're living in this house, there is no negotiation when it comes to mass. You have to go to mass if you're living in this house. There's no choice. You know, if you lived in a dorm, there would be rules as a part of the dorm. If you lived at the Sheraton Hotel, there would be rules associated with the Sheraton. And so, you know, I find that just, I get really frustrated because it's kind of like, no, your boyfriend can't sleep in your room at our house. Like, no, like it doesn't happen anymore. So, you know, when I talk about praying for the revival of the vocation of motherhood, part of that means that mothers reclaim their authority as a mother, because as one of my dear friends, actually Nikki DeCudo, said, that, you know, if we're in a culture where mothers are afraid to speak the truth at the kitchen table, damn, we're in trouble, right? So anyway, thanks. A shout out to Nikki DeCudo. And that's the big benefit of having other moms that, you know, are going to support you. So anyways, thank you all of you for joining us today. A big warm thank you to Krystyna, a big warm thank you to Bernadette. I just wanted to acknowledge your courage, because so many youth are just so afraid. I say we have too many closet Catholics. I'm like, come on. So thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge your courage and thank you for speaking openly. And all the youth that meet you at all of those 3 mothers groups are just so blessed to meet you, Bernadette. No, thank you very, very much. I just, such a joy. It's so edifying. And thanks for all of the help that you've given your mom with the moms group too at All Saints. Really appreciate it. And Father Martin, thank you for your years of service. Thank you for joining us today. And all of you who have signed on, I hope that you end up going on a pilgrimage, or at least go to the fundraising gala, go for the fundraising dinner. So on that note, well, thank you. And as they say, so long. Okay, so bye everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye now.